There's also another interesting thing that the Rebbe spoke once about blood cells, and I'll actually conclude with that. There was one person that came to the Rebbe in 1962. It was end of January. The person had leukemia. He was walking with a stick, with a cane. Came from England. They told him, go to the Rebbe, you get a blessing. The Rebbe gave him a blessing, but the Rebbe told him, with the condition that you don't tell anybody anything about it. And he came in with a cane. He couldn't even he couldn't even walk on his own. He walked out. He didn't even need the cane anymore. He was so excited. He immediately went to the post office, called up his family, this and that. Shabbos, the Rebbe spoke about the blood cells. There's red blood cells, there's white blood cells. The Rebbe says the white blood cells are fighting the infection. There are certain, the Rebbe says there's a team by everyone that has to focus on two different directions. One is focusing on the negative, refraining from doing negative, sur mira, refraining from doing evil. The other one is asay tev, concentrating and focusing on the positive, doing good deeds. So the Rebbe says this is basically that sometimes when there's something that a person needs to eradicate from the body, so in the same sense that the white blood cells grow in number then, in the same sense also the person exerts a special energy and force to overcome the negative activity, the negative features and behavior that are in the person. Which this is basically just a touch of the union of medicine. I'm just going to conclude with a story about my father. There's actually a whole bunch of stories, but I'll just mention two stories in regards to my father, since the day of his passing is coming up this Shabbos. After 14 years, it falls out on a Shabbos, very rare, and that happened 23 years ago. The Rebbe used my father very much as a physician, and in the Rebbe's household, and also recommended to Chassidim, would send him to Chassidim, referred Chassidim to him, and people would come at all times. Two different stories that took place in regards to my father, which expressed the way the Rebbe worked things, actually more than two stories, but I'll just mention a few. The one story was in 1958. There was a certain older chassid who wasn't well, was sick. He suffered from a kidney stone pain, and he also had fever. And this was Yom Tov and Shabbos. This was Shmini Atzeres, fell out on a Shabbos. They called their family doctor, and their family doctor told him he has to be rushed to the hospital. This person sent his daughter to the Rebbe's house and asked the Rebbe what to do. Yeah. But they didn't tell the Rebbe that they asked another doctor. So when the Rebbe was consulted what to do, so the Rebbe said they should go to my father. They should go to Dr. Seligson. She left the house, and then she realized she really didn't tell the Rebbe. They already called the doctor. She went back to the house. The Rebbetzin, whose yahrzeit is tonight. The Rebbe's wife's day of passing is tonight, the 22nd of Shvat, 24 years ago. So the Rebbetzins went again to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said, okay, they went to another doctor, let it be. When the daughter came to the house, she told her father what took place. Her father says, what did the Rebbe say? In the first place, he said, the Rebbe said they should turn to Dr. Seligson. So he says, if so, I want him to visit me. They called my father came, and my father looked at the patient and said as follows. My father was halacha and medicine, so he had to juggle both, quoted the Jewish law and medicine. So he said like this, now it is Shabbos and Yom Tov. Let's wait till tonight and see what happens. Because in order not to desecrate the Shabbos, let's wait. They waited, and over the Shabbos the stone went out on its own. So there was no need for hospital anymore. That night was Simchas Torah. The Rebbe then verbringed a whole night. The Rebbe would speak at a gathering, then the Rebbe would make akafas 1 in the morning. It was an all-nighter. In fact, my wife once invited someone for 3 in the morning for a Suda, and she said, This was a journalist. She said, 3 a.m. we're going to have our meal. This lady thought that there was some kind of error here, and instead she figured it was 3 p.m. the next day. I don't remember what happened then, if we were Bechlal Homet, because we might have been in Shul yet with some Chastera. So what happened was that the Rebbe saw my father by the Farbrengen. He just came from that patient's house, and the Rebbe gave the son of the patient's son a piece of cake to give for his father, and then the Rebbe saw my father, and he saw that my father couldn't climb over the table. So the Rebbe got up, stood up, took wine, and took some of the cake that he had in front of him, and he gave it to my father. And he said, in the same sense that in the time of the temple, the Kehanim, the ones that served in the temple, would eat, and the owners of the sacrifice were forgiven, in the same sense you should eat, and the patient will get well. And then the Rebbe continues, you should know that you're a great doctor, and therefore, when there are doctors that disagree with my opinion, I'll need you to side with me. And therefore, the Rebbe says, I'll have a doctor at my side. And this is what took place many times. There was once the Rebbe walked out of his house, and the Rebbe of his room, and he showed my father a telegram of someone that was sick, and is asking a medical question. So the Rebbe asked, is there any remedy for that? Is there any solution for that? So my father said, no, in medicine there's nothing new. The Rebbe came out again and asked again. My father understood what the Rebbe wanted, that a doctor should issue the verdict that there is a cure, and the Rebbe then returned to his room, and that's how it ended. Are there any questions?
I do have one.
Okay.
Motzei Shabbos, you said you should start having a meal and you should drink from the water. So is there any kind of time limit on this Motzei Shabbos?
It's better before midnight, but it can go all night.
Uh-huh. So from Havdalah to midnight?
After Havdalah, yeah.
Okay.